So let's get a start demo first of deployment, CI/CD deployment using Docker container on Azure. So this is actually using Blazor web application which is deployed on Azure using Docker container and CI/CD pipeline. So how we can achieve that? It's simply, so let's see, this is deployed in our here, and this is actually hosted in our Azure here, right? And this is our GitHub repository which will trigger automatically once I changes anything, so it will trigger automatically. So let me show you as a demo. So what I will do, simply I will change it over here, for example this guy, to container counter to new changes to counter component, right? Component, and then save it. Once I save and just push these changes, so it should be automatically trigger, right? So change counter component, and then push these changes. Once I push these changes to repository, it will automatically fire trigger, right? If you go back to here and go to that actions, so see, the changes is over here. It is trying to again try to build and then deploy. Once I build and deployed, it's automatically published in our application in our Azure. Now build section completed. Now we'll start for deployment. Now deployment also completed. Now it will take some time to reflect your you know application, because it is a using container deployment using container. So container will push and they will start in the few seconds. So we have to refresh. Now see, once it's properly push and changes, so now your changes also is there, right? Like that actually we can implement over here. And before proceeding in the implementation, I'm especially recommend to you. So before starting this session, I'm especially recommend visit my channel, which is .NET Real World Example. And here you have to first listen, or first you have to check out this session, Docker container as a deployment. So in this session, actually you have to get idea like how actually Docker container is deployment, right? Then CI/CD pipeline will be help for you, because before that CI/CD pipeline, you have to know like, okay, how the Docker container is deployed manually, right? So that's why we have to recommend first you have to visit this one. So let's get start implementation. So open your Visual Studio, create a new project, choose any application. I will use that Blazor web application. Next I'll choose Blazor web app CI/CD container deployment, right? So container deployment, and just choose the locations. So I'll just choose my locations, and next use default things over here, right? So change to that, remove that HTTPS for that container. That is fine, but yeah, you can keep it, that also fine. So yeah, once your template is ready, right? So it is a default template, right? And also it is not necessary if you required only the create a new application. If you have an existing application, that's also fine. But yeah, you can that skip that, how to create the new application, right? So make sure if it is working fine. Let me run this application. Now it's run application is perfectly fine. Let me close quickly. And what I need to do next I have to add Docker. So let me add a Docker over here. So how we can add it? You can go to that, right click and project, go to that add section, click the Docker support. Once I add the Docker, you are able to see this target framework. I use the Linux and Docker file. Once I add, your project will be add a Docker file which will create your image of your applications, right? And it's automatically actually creating that image itself, right? So once it's done, now see it is done. Also you can just try to your local first, like, okay, how is look like inside the Docker. Run this application. Now it's running perfectly fine. You can check it your Docker container as well, Docker desktop as well. So if you open your Docker desktop, you're able to see your container is running over here, right? And then what I need to do, I need to do the few more steps. So what is the next step? Once your Docker setup your project has been ready, so now I have to create a Azure container registry. And for this, what you have to do, go to that your Azure portal, log in your Azure portal with your subscription. And you don't have any subscription, don't worry about that. You can just use the Sandbox subscription, which is completely free. Now you are able to see I just using that Sandbox subscription over here, Microsoft Learn Sandbox, which is completely free. You can choose that container registry over here and create a new container, right? So let me create a new container and create a now choose that resource group and make it the name, for example, my Blazor web app ci cd, right? Using the container, and just choose that basic plan, create. Now deployment has succeed. Go to the resource, and here one more thing actually we have to allow in this resource, right? So go to that settings, here setting access key, click that access key. You have to allow this admin user, so that whatever place outside, if you want to push that your image, they can allow. So that's why it's allow, and then you will get that username and password. Using based on this, you can just push your image inside this container, right? So and one more things actually, if you go to the service section, the repository section, so whatever image you will push inside this container, you are able to see this repository here. So as of now we don't have. What I will do now, go back again to Visual Studio, and you can just push your image first time, right? So there is a many way actually you can push using that CLI, and you can use the CLI as well, and also Visual Studio. But yeah, for the easiest perspective, I will use that Visual Studio, and right click on that, publish, and use that Docker container registry. Next, use Docker Hub, not Docker Hub, Azure container registry. And here whatever your subscription, you just choose. But yeah, my subscription would be this guy. So once you change my subscription, you are able to see this is my container registry, choose this guy. Next, use the Docker desktop, finish. Once your profile is created, so this is not done, just profile has been created, but yeah, you have to publish that. Once you publish, so message now image will be created and pushed to that container. So you have to wait till now. So finally it's published successfully, right? And you can make sure go to your Azure portal and refresh your repository in this container. Now see, you're able to see your name, right? So once you available, so now next step would be you have to create your app service, right? Go to that app service and create your new web app. Click on that web app and choose the resource group and choose that container. This is that way actually. So you have to use that. If you want to deploy using the container, you have to choose this container, choose that Linux, and choose whatever things over here. So I will use the different reason, and then I will use this guy, and then this is a normal setting, you can use it. But yeah, main setting is that here. So go to that basic one. Yeah, there's a issue actually. I just forget to mention the name. So what would be the my app name? Blazor, right? And then it's perfectly fine. Now go to the next. There's a no database, click the container. Now here you have to use that Azure container registry, so that whatever, see, the registry name automatically populated over here, or if it is not, then you can just choose, and then whatever name image you can populate it, and then tag it. And now next, 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 next. Now finally you have to create. Okay, now finally deployment success. Go to that resource, right? And here, okay, now finally your domain is available over here. And if you just click over there and open this site, now finally it's loaded. It will take some few seconds, right? And it is perfectly working fine. Now see, everything is working fine. Now main things we have to do, that automatic automatic deployment, right? So that if I change something in my repository, so automatically it can be build and deploy automatically instead of whatever do is manually, right? So in this case what I can do, simply go back to here in your app service, and if you see this section in the deployment center, so click that deployment center, and here there is a few sort resources over here. See the few resources over here. So what I will do, I will use that GitHub Actions. So that's why I will choose the second one. But yeah, if we have a Azure pipeline, so I can use this guy, Azure pipeline things over there, like DevOps. If I use the DevOps thing, so I can use this guy. But yeah, I will use the GitHub, so I will use this guy. And here uh, if you first time actually try to log in GitHub, so it will asking to authenticate. So once you click the authenticate, they asking that username and password over GitHub, and it will just assign to over here. So but yeah, I have already done, so that's why I don't need to do again. But yeah, first time you need to take in care. And then further what I can do, this repository, right? So this repository I have to use the for my CI/CD pipeline. So what I can do is just need to push this to in our GitHub. So let me add this to my GitHub first. So make it this guy, make it private also, so that nobody can use that repository for your purposes only, right? So create this guy, and this is push. Now go back to your Azure portal. Here what I will do, simply choose that our organization, my organization name is this guy, and then repository, my repository would be this guy, like Blazor container deployment, right? Then make sure this is a same name or not. Yeah, Blazor container deployment. Yeah, this is that same name. And then choose the branch, I will choose that master branch. And then here I will use registry resource. So my registry resource would be over here, Azure registry, and then choose that whatever my plan. So my plan is this guy, and then use admin credentials, and whatever the credentials we have to allow, right? So that we have to add to admin credential, and then this is my registry name, and this is my image name. That is fine, right? And then finally, also if you want to review this file, so you can just review whatever they actually prepare our for the deployment step. So see, they just preparing your registry, right? How we can just log in. Once you log in, then create a build, and then finally it's deployed to our that Azure registry, and then finally deploy our Azure webapps, right? So like this way actually they have to do over here. So what I can do, uh, simply we have to save it. So once you save it, open your GitHub repository. It will automatically actually trying to fire. So go to your GitHub repository and go to that your repository, which one you're trying to do that, right? So go to here. Yeah, actually this is not sign in, right? So because without sign in you are not able to see your one. So let me sign in my repository. So once you log in, go to your repository, uh, go to your repository, and here see this is that guy. So click that repository, and if you go to that actions, so now see it is failing, right? Why it's failing, let me check it. Go to that build section, and in this build section you able to see here, see they clearly asking whatever that file, that docker file, there's a not available, that no such file or directory, right? So that is a right. Actually we see the docker file should not keep in this project level, it should be a solution level, right? So what I need to do, simply go to that my solution, right? Solution explorer here, and copy or cut that docker file, and go back to that main root folder and paste it over here. So this docker file actually you have to keep your main solution level, not in this project level, because that could be a many files, right? For many projects. So that's why let me remove that, right? And what I need to do, simply whatever changes we have done, right? So let me just edit. Okay, change the docker directory name, right? And once I commit and push, it should be it should be fire actually. So let me show you. If you go to that here and go back to again actions, now see again it's starting to trigger, right? And if you go to here, now build is starting. So see, there's all the steps they are trying to do. So they just try to do now again login and then push. Now see, this time trying to push the image, right? And this time hopefully should be deployed. Now see, it's complete, and also you are able to see the green tick, right? So that means it is perfectly built, and then start to deployment, right? So this is another stage for deployment. So that are two stages, right? So if you go back again this here, see the two stage. First trying to build, so whatever build and then publish that image, and then it's deploying, right? So like that actually there is a mechanism, right? It is automatically here. And how they're trying to do that, right? So that is another concept, right? How we can do that. So then mechanism actually, if you go to that code, so you see previously we just create our project and all, right? But once I authenticate and deployment done, right, and save it automatically, so it will create this new folder, right? GitHub and workflow. And in this workflow they actually create YAML file, cd YAML file. And this YAML file actually trying to do everything automatically. So once I you know once I push that any code, any changes in repositories, they will trigger, and they will do those are step and push that image and publish the another here. So this is actually mechanism. So automatically if you don't know how we can create that YAML file and all, I just created uh, in my old session I just created manually deployment using that everything we have to create manually, right? Line by line. So you can check out that session also, so that you can understand, okay, what is the deploy section, what is the step section, and what is those are branches and all, right? Those things you have to know that. So yeah, that is done. So now we are able to see still it's going on running. So it will trying to deploy, it will take some time to deploy, right? So we have to wait. Now finally it's completed. Now see, build also green tick, deployment also green tick. If you go back here, see green tick is done. And if you see deployment and build is succeed, right? Now if you go back here, your application should running as expected, right? So see, it is trying to reload because it is actually new publish message is push, right? So it will take some time to again start your application. So might be take some time. Now finally is up and running, right? So it will take some time after again deployment, right? So that is done. Now what I will do, simply I will show you, like if I change something, so that also reflect or not. So what I can do, simply go back to your Visual Studio again and go to that components pages and go to that home pages. And here what I can do, uh just change something. This is CI/CD deployment via container, Docker container on Azure, right? Let me save it and push these changes to over here, so that the changes we can see in our here. So adding content, right? And then push the changes. So once I push these changes, so again if you go to back to your here, you will get it should be fire again. Now see, once I push the changes, new changes comes up here, and again it's try to trigger. So again this two step need to complete, like build and deploy. So you have to wait something. Now see, deployed also succeed, right? And once I go back here, let me refresh. It will take some time to reflect, so we have to wait. Now see, finally after few seconds, it is got changes, because it will take some time to reflect. So now it is completed, right, for auto CI/CD pipeline using Docker container. So this is way actually we can achieve our deployment CI/CD pipeline using Docker container. So that's all for this session, and we'll push this code for your, we already push, right? Okay, so you can just use same code, right? And actually you can just follow that same process. We don't require any calls because we nothing we have to do over here, right? So that is fine, and that's all for this session. And thank you, have a nice day, and have don't forget to like, subscribe and share.